Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 209 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
You know, we always say the summer is a slow time, but this week was anything but. We got exciting stuff to cover, some controversies, some mistranslations even. It has been an eventful one. So before we get into the news, as always, we like to, pimp our stuff a little bit. Let you guys know what's happening in our lives, what's happening on our channels. As always, if you'd like to support this show, keep the lights on, then you can head over to patreon.com/MrMattyPlays. Flick a buck. I don't have the jingle prepared today, but you can flick a buck, and if you do so, you can get patron access to, patron post access, Discord access, early access to this very show. Within the next month or so, I should have the thing I've been working on for fucking ever finally ready to go. And that's the sound of a demonetization, by the way. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much what we have going on there. Patreon exclusive videos, standard stuff. Karak, anything happening on your end?
A couple small reviews, and then we're doing a Stranger Things podcast because it overlaps so much with role-playing games and video games, and there's so much 1980s, 1990s references in it. So we're doing that. I'm really excited for that, actually. It'll be something fun and different. And then, let's see, there was something coming up in the next couple days, and I can't remember
what the
hell it was. It was coverage I was going to do for something.
There's that ActRaiser spiritual successor. There's that new game Nintendo announced, Blaze something. It's like a dodgeball side-scroller. It looks awesome. It's got the soundtrack that's straight ripped out of Jet Set Radio. It looks so cool. Anything like that?
I don't. This is so weird because you were just saying, or prior to the podcast, you forgot something. No, yeah. I've forgotten.
I've passed the buck.
It was, it was. No, I mean, I can't. I literally can't remember. I can't remember. That's so sad.
Let's hope both of our memories come back by the end.
No
of the show.
shit. What happened?
I know, right?
Going to see Spider-Man. I'll say that much.
Yeah,
and excited to do that tonight.
Same this weekend as well. Overall, when it comes to me, future projects video-wise, really been trying to hone down this, or rather bolt down the stream front, because I was doing about normally 3 to 4 streams a week, and for past 2 weeks, I had done only 2 a week, which isn't too bad. I made sure to get it in there where I could, but now that things are settling down, I'm trying to stream a little bit more. We just finished our Fallout 4 Road to Platinum, so we got that. Pretty pumped. And now we're picking our next Road to Platinum series, and I'm leaning towards BioShock Infinite. So
cool.
That'll be fun, yeah, because I already have the original BioShock Platinumed.
I enjoyed that game.
I love Infinite. I love it, man. I'm curious to see how much I love it now, though, because I'm rereading The Fountainhead. I love BioShock 1. I've played it way more in BioShock Infinite, but in my heart, I like BioShock Infinite more, and I think it's because of the big twists. I love the introduction. It's one of the best intros to a video game ever, in my opinion. Next to Fallout 3. It's just something special about that game. So I'd love to get the Platinum Trophy for that, so that's what we're leaning towards currently. And other video projects. It's just a fight every day, man. We just got to find news every day. It's not as easy during this time of the year, but this week it wasn't that hard. So, Karak, any projects on your end, or shall we get into the news?
No, I'm still trying to remember the one. It is funny you mentioned trying to, the fight, because, dude, I've been demonetized to fucking the ends of the earth, so we actually pulled our international podcast. I don't even post it to YouTube because they were claiming every single video I was putting up, and I started to get really nervous that if you get so many claims, not the copyright strikes, but the claims, I was so nervous that I was getting so many, and that was a guaranteed one, once a week. Absolutely guaranteed. I was going to get demonetized due to that. I got nervous, and I just decided, I'm like, dude, I'm putting them on audio. I'm putting them on, they're on Twitch, already. So I'm like, I'm just leaving them there because that's how nervous the consistent demonetizations are on YouTube. So no, that's the only thing that popped up in my mind when you were talking about the consistent fight is it is leveled up. I thought it was bad 2 years ago,
I've even
but it is leveled up.
Yeah, usually I kind of fly under the radar, but the podcasts got hit. I remember George of Zero Period Productions hey, does anyone else not get hit as often? And I'm like, yeah, I'm usually relatively okay. There are spurts where it gets really bad, but overall I was okay. And then as I said that, I was uploading a video for that day, and I had it scheduled for, I think it was Wednesday, and I got demonetized for that. I was like, I just went back and replied to the tweet. I said, never mind, I just got hit. It was so weird. It's so weird. I don't even bother with their claim system. I just re-upload it now, and when I did that, actually, I changed the title slightly. It was the State of Creation Club video. It was like supposed to just say the State of Creation Club in 2019. All I did was add the dash 2 years later because I was like, it's something. You know, it doesn't look bad for the video title, but it also is something different. And maybe YouTube will register it as different, and it did, I guess, because it never got demonetized. Really fucking weird. Really weird.
So, absolutely impossible. You need AI just to figure out what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Like, we need to hire a programmer to write us AI to figure out what their AI is doing behind the scenes.
Insane. Well, here we go, Karak. Into the news we go. We're going to start off with CD Projekt Red. Pretty much every source, except for those who head into the timestamps who have already seen it, or Alan Wake's story, all comes from Game Informer, so head over to their site. Give them a click. So, earlier it was reported that they were working on multiple Cyberpunk games. One was like a multiplayer mode that was going to be a standalone thing, similar to, I'd imagine, Gwent. But it seems like CD Projekt Red is actually not working on multiple games. And so let's get into this article. Despite an earlier translation indicating CD Projekt Red was working on multiple Cyberpunk games, that is not the case. The statement behind the confusion was mistranslated. What they really have going on is 3 teams working on a game rather than sequels or spin-offs. We currently have a total of 5 teams working on a number of projects, with 3 focusing on the development of Cyberpunk 2077, a CDPR rep said in a statement to PC Gamer. These include CD Projekt Red Warsaw and Krakow, sorry if I mispronounced anything here, who are handling the main game, as well as the Rowclaw studio, where around 40 industry specialists are engaged in technology, research, and development. While the 3 teams work on Cyberpunk, the other 2 out of the 5 are working on Gwent and an unannounced mobile title. And then it just mentions that Cyberpunk is still nearly a year out with a release date of April 16th, 2020. So it makes sense that they'd stick to one title at the moment. And I agree. When I saw this, like I mentioned in videos because there were reports coming out, but internally I was like, that's like they're a big studio, but I didn't know how expensive they were to handle working on 3 games, multiple Cyberpunk games. So how do you feel knowing now that we have 3 teams, two of them really focusing in on Cyberpunk? Does it explain why this game looks, at least from my perspective, I'm not sure if you're as over the moon about it, but does it explain to you a little bit of how phenomenal it looks?
Yeah, no, I'd say it looks phenomenal. The only thing I argued with was I saw people saying it was absolutely impossible to be on current hardware. That was the biggest line of fucking bullshit I've ever read in my life. But because you can always adjust shit, and, figure out what negatives you want to accept to get something on a system.
Well, so far it seems like a lot of the spaces in that game are more enclosed, where it doesn't have to load.
Yeah, you don't have the draw distance that you're accustomed to, like in a GTA 5 or something, which could change. But yeah, overall, it makes sense. I didn't believe the 3 game thing, because that didn't make sense. When it was like, oh, they're working on 3 different titles, I was like, unless they're really small. They probably aren't. So, no, it looks exactly like, I would say, a huge budget company that just made The Witcher, or not just, but made The Witcher and saw that much success would make a game look like. I mean, to me, everything sort of fits.
That's what you'd expect, right? And that's why, I don't want to lop in Bethesda here too much, but that's why a lot of people with, like, Fallout 4, they're like, you found this crazy success, and, like, afterwards you dropped, like, not arguably, but a worse game. It doesn't make sense when you get all that money acquired from all these studios. It's a strange situation with them, because you're like, how much of that budget ended up being deviated to, like, Prey, which was great, or Dishonored 2, which was great.
Other games.
But all in all, it was strange that BGS's next game didn't turn out as hot, or that's what the general expectation is. Now, I had the original article up about the more CD Projekt Red projects that were being worked on. And it says the news comes from Polish news outlets Bankier, which wrote a story about how Cyberpunk 2077 pre-orders are above what The Witcher 3 hit prior to its release, which is awesome. Within the story, CD Projekt Red president Adam Kaczynski mentioned that they currently have 3 teams working on Cyberpunk 2077 projects. One is the actual Cyberpunk 2077 game we have all seen. The second is a multiplayer standalone spin-off based on Cyberpunk 2077. They didn't hint at what it might be, but Battle Royale seems to be a fair bet. The third project is their next big game, which one would guess is a sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. It's not necessarily that, however, as CD Projekt Red has also said they consider Gwent and its single-player campaign to be a large-scale project as well. Just a little weekly reminder, do play Thronebreaker The Witcher Tales, great game. But yeah, so that was the original report, that there was a multiplayer standalone, another big game. And I had also, what's weird is all these conflict with seemingly the report that there were going to be 2 games out by 2021 from CD Projekt Red, which maybe leans more into what we heard about the mobile game, because it does confirm 3 teams are working on Cyberpunk, 2 out of the 5 are working on Gwent and an unannounced mobile title.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I don't think a lot of people want to admit is that a mobile title or something like that could certainly pay off. Like,
yeah,
that could pay off for that
they've
company.
really done it, and I don't think Gwent's
Right.
available on mobile, if I'm remembering correctly, where
I've never seen anything about Gwent on my Android, if that's what you mean. Like,
Yeah,
nothing, yeah.
I was going to say, because that could be a good foray for them. I just get nervous.
Oh, yeah, and it's just a place that makes them some money on the side. Sorry, you were saying you get nervous from what?
No, I just think of, like, Fallout Shelter came out, holy shit, it's amazing, and then I think of, like, afterwards what happened with Blades and how it was, like, your pinnacle bad free-to-play model on a mobile device, and it's like, you just don't want to see another company make the same wrongs that another already did. Kind of like repeating history again, but
Yeah.
sorry, you had cut me off while I had cut you off, so what were you saying?
No, I was just saying I hadn't seen it on Android at all, and I could honestly see it doing fairly well on mobile, Gwent, for sure. I think the only thing that would really matter is that I think a lot of the fans of Cyberpunk are Witcher fans. You know, like they see this new game and they're like, "Oh, let's jump on it." But I don't necessarily think. Well, I guess Gwent is different, or Gwent is different enough. I'm just trying to figure out if, like, dude, when they announced what was the mobile Fallout?
Fallout Shelter.
Yeah, when they showed Fallout Shelter and, like, it's available now, I think that hit in multiple ways because there was, like, a huge number of Fallout fans, all that kind of stuff. I think Gwent is very popular, but I don't know if it's also as different, or, like, I don't know how it would grab as many, like, fans in the same way that, I mean, because, dude, Shelter was a big deal. It was at E3. Unless those guys next E3 announce it, but then you'd have Cyberpunk right there too, so it'd be a weird.
Man, Cyberpunk would already be out, so it'd just be
Cyberpunk
like, hey, we're
would
doing
already
a
be
mobile
out.
Game.
I guess they could. But it doesn't seem like it would be as grabby to me. I don't know. You got Gwent more than I did, so I'll also say that.
You didn't dig Gwent that much?
Not a lot, no, and not nearly as much as a lot of people. In fact, I go for those kind of games. I would rather play Gwent in Witcher than Gwent out of Witcher. I've always been that kind of person. So minigame.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I meant.
Minigame fishing games, I love the idea of, but I would not want to play a fishing game by itself usually.
Right.
Same thing with card games. But for whatever reason, in Witcher 3, Gwent did not capture me. So I don't know if that's a thing with Gwent. Or
You're not alone, though. Gwent did not.
Yeah, I do know that.
Yeah, Gwent did not light the world on fire when they did standalone. I think CD Projekt Red failed to identify that people were hyped about this thing because it was in already such a dense RPG.
Yeah, it's one more cool thing.
Exactly.
You know?
And
yeah.
it was like a reminder of, like, cool secrets can be found in games and cool mini games exist. Outside of, obviously, titles that we know nowadays like Yakuza, which are known for their mini games. But I think that's what happened. They failed to identify it. They said, hey, we can cash in on this. We can make a whole card game off of it. It's different from Hearthstone. It's completely different. Plays differently. And it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Even if you play Thronebreaker, which is like the single-player story with Gwent gameplay mechanics, it's really good. But, yeah, I think they just didn't get the market right on that one. And they're just trying to make it work. They released recently a whole new expansion for it. I think it was free, included new cards. I think their other mistake was keeping this mobile, or not mobile, sorry, but this card game off of mobile for so long. Because I think that could have benefited it a lot as well. They kept it to PC. I think it's on consoles now. I know for a fact it's on Xbox. I'm not sure about PlayStation. I think it's there too.
And what if Gwent was more of a mini game on the PC or on the Android or whatever, but then you did get the consoles and it was the developed game we have now or something?
Yeah,
it'd be a cool jump.
I agree. Yeah, it could be something along those lines. I just think that it was a misstep for them, quite honestly. But that does not mean the future's bleak for them by any stretch.
I was gonna say I do agree for sure. Sorry, that the mini game inside of a major game, there is some magic there.
It's like, dude, I mean, we love KOTOR, so like Pazak. It's just like, oh, this
exactly.
is here.
And but if you said Pazak, matter of fact, by the way, there was a Pazak executable you could get from a demo site. I forgot.
Really?
It was a guy all it was a guy programmed Pazak all by itself.
Wow.
And it was cool for about 4 minutes. But the idea of playing a character who then plays Pazak, who at any moment can stand up and walk away, that's the magic that a standalone does not click. Even Final Fantasy fishing. Dude, there's something about fishing in Final... You're like, I can fucking go and fight a dinosaur.
Bombs and,
yeah, it's so dumb. It's so dumb because, dude, half the time the controls are worse. Far Cry 5 had fishing. Red Dead had fishing and hunting. They were pretty good in both of them, but nowhere near as good as a game that could just be that would be. But it didn't matter. Because it was like, I can be Arthur Morgan, I can fucking shoot a bison, and then jump on my horse and go fucking rough up some outlaws. And it just feels better.
Yeah.
It just feels better.
I agree completely. Yeah, there's something, you hit the nail on the head. There's just something better about being able to enter and exit an activity and then go do something else. It's like you're living a second life.
In Red Dead, dude.
Yeah.
Poker in Red Dead. I play poker a little bit. That game, I'm like, fuck yeah. And, you hear your character say dumb little things, and you're like, yeah.
That reminds me of Fallout New Vegas, when you're on the Strip and they got all those mini games you can get into, Caravan, Blackjack, what have you. It's just awesome. It's like a whole second life in there. It's great.
Yeah, there's a magic feeling. Matter of fact, I should probably do a video on that. There's certainly something there to discuss as being different than a game that's based just on it.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, CD Projekt Red not working on multiple Cyberpunk games, but they do have multiple projects in development. Seemingly, none of them are big, but I imagine, it'd be foolish to assume that there just isn't a Witcher in pre-production.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. All right. Next one is a controversy that hits close to home for me, during the childhood days. We're talking about Shenmue 3. So let's read the article once again from Game Informer. Last month, YSNet, by the way, that's how it's apparently pronounced. I thought it was EastNet because there is that game series called East, but it is YSNet, maybe for you, Suzuki. And Deep Silver made the surprising revelation that Shenmue 3 on PC would be exclusive to the Epic Games Store for a single year. This, in of itself, is not anything extraordinary, but the prominence of the game combined with the fact that it was kickstarted with promised Steam codes worked in concert to generate massive anger from fans of the game and people who were decidedly not fans of the Epic Games Store. YSNet, the developers of the game, were caught off guard by this backlash. I have no idea how you're caught off guard. And promised to look into the decision, which they did. Now, I thought the reason I picked Game Informer, especially for this article, is because I think they did a great job highlighting the perspectives, which you often don't see. It's usually just like, here's the information, but they provide a good perspective here. This put YSNet in a precarious position. Epic paying for exclusivity likely paid for the game's delay and final polishing phase, which they seemingly needed for the title, but giving refunds to PC backers would rip off the entire financial band-aid they just put on. Their solution was to ask backers who preferred not to use Epic Game Store version, whether because of feature convenience or ethical principle, to switch to PlayStation 4 instead. That did not go over well. The other solution was to ask people who wanted Steam keys to wait a year. That also did not go over well. Today, YSNet announced that they would instead be issuing refunds to those for whom not having a Steam code is a deal breaker. Epic boss Tim Sweeney explained that in these instances where a crowdfunded game has to give out refunds because of Epic Games Store exclusivity, Epic will pay it out themselves. Additionally, they are going to start working with publishers to figure out how to best handle these situations where Steam codes are promised in the future so those backers can get those codes. Tim Sweeney wrote on Twitter, Epic is funding the cost of all Kickstarter refunds resulting from Shenmue 3's move to the Epic Game Store so that refunds won't reduce YSNet's development funding. This isn't the solution that people who wanted to play Shenmue 3 but not an Epic Game Store wanted. But by and large, the response to this plan seems largely withered acceptance, varying to positivity depending on who you ask. So yeah, pretty much Epic Games Store foot in the bill. We're not going to see YSNet presumably go under because they're helping them out there. But it's still a game on the Epic Games Store, and I think what ultimately fans were looking for was this to just go back to Steam somehow, which
Right.
I always like to pass it to you right away, but I gotta toss in there. Shenmue 3 is one of the most niche games of all times. Like, oh my god, it is not gonna fly off the shelves. It's launching now in November, after a very busy time, and it might have the same situation we had with Darksiders 3. You and I were saying from like day one, oh, that's not a good time to release that game. That might not do well, and it ended up doing just fine. It sold as much as they could have hoped, and by that I don't mean like an insane success, but I mean it sold enough. But I don't see that same surprise happening for Shenmue 3 because of how slow it is, how methodical it is. It's a third entry. It very much leans on the previous two. Now you have this whole controversy blowing up, which anyone who never heard of Shenmue 3 has now heard of it in the worst way possible. And so I totally understand, and I say this with a lot of games. I said it with Metro Exodus, that when you partner with Epic as a gamer, I don't have to like it, but I do understand it because there are certain games that don't have that guaranteed success. And when you partner with Epic, you have those guaranteed funds to keep people's jobs, to keep, the lights on. That type of stuff becomes less of a worry, and you can just focus on supporting your game after launch and working on the next thing. But on the other hand, obviously, in the case especially of a Kickstarter game where fans have funded that project, I thought it was really stupid to just get in bed with Epic and then say you were caught off guard. Now, I understand their initial response, which was like, hey, do you want to play on the console instead? I understand why people would get pissed off, but I think that was a smart first step before, they did something drastic like ripping off a deal or going to Epic. I think they did their options well. But suggesting to wait a year was super dumb. So with just my initial thoughts out there, Karak, let's pass it to you. What do you think about the whole Shenmue 3 controversy?
I mean, when Shenmue 3 was announced, this all started wrong, because when Shenmue 3 was announced, Sony was like, we're not fucking doing nothing with it. And then the very next day, they got caught lying. They were like, okay, admittedly, we are funding some of it. And then this happened, but this also happened after or prior to Epic saying that they were going to even release a store. I don't think the Epic Store was even out when these guys... I don't even think the Epic Store was even talked about when these guys first showed Shenmue. So,
yeah, it was like 2013 or 14, right?
Yeah, so when they're in the middle of showing it, and then someday, Tim Sweeney shows up and he's like, hey, you guys want to move it on there? We were shocked. That depends on who it was. I would say most of us wouldn't be shocked. Anybody in their PR department wouldn't be shocked. What they could have meant is they talked to Yu Suzuki, and he could have been shocked. Because I do believe that we do get the thing where a person is really in depth in a game and they think everybody wants it. Mm-hmm. Like they think everybody is as excited as they are. Mm-hmm. And they'll do anything, remembering that this was a company back in the day. Sega could sell an entire console on their 3 games: Virtual Racing, Virtual Fighting, and what was the other one? Sonic. Mm-hmm. They just had fans. Fans would be like, we'll line up in droves. We don't care what the fuck's going on. Well, fans are different now. They're nothing like that. And this is his first massive game. So it could have been a surprise.
When,
I don't
like
see how it was. It's been a long time for him. Yeah. And Shenmue, right? When you announce Shenmue, you're expecting the world to explode because he's around yes men. You and I know it's niche. I love it, and I know it is. Mm-hmm. But if I were him, I would bet you I assume it's bigger than it is. I mean, that seems normal, right?
Given its Kickstarter success, you'd imagine there was that excitement, but it's taken so long. Some of that's
exactly.
Withered.
Yeah. But I mean, even prior to that, if I'm just around people who like Shenmue, because I'm at that company, and then all my friends are like, man, we want a new Shenmue. You're like, hey, man, we're going to do a new Shenmue, expecting the world to light on fire. And half the world's like, the fuck is Shenmue? I'm 19. Yeah. Like, I would have been 9 when that came out, like, depending on their age. Like, it makes no sense. So it's understandable. I think it's a dumb move, but it's a move that makes sense for them financially. It's a dumb move versus a financially good move. And the problem is, for the next 3 years, that is what the industry will be, are dumb moves versus good financial moves. Mm-hmm. That is what it's going to be with Epic. So anytime we see this, you're going to have a situation where a developer feels like they can't figure out what they need to figure out, so they have to make the financially sound move. And it is sound. Epic's throwing money Dude, Epic said they were going to pay for the refunds. Do you know how much money that means they have to put up front? They basically have to cover the cost of the game now, even though they won't, because many people will still buy it. But what I'm saying is they would have had to have looked at their books and said, our max refund would be bleh. So they call up Tencent, and they're like, do you have the money to back up all the refunds? Tencent's like, dude, we're China. We got all the money in the world. And they went forward. It's not going to be the only one. And I guarantee you, you're going to start to see Kickstarters that say, we reserve the right. Be prepared to see them. It will start happening, if it's not already happened, where it'll say, we reserve the right to choose our platform holder. Because Epic is a big deal. And the developers I talk to say two names every time I talk to them. Epic and Microsoft. And they say it every time. They're like, dude, Game Pass is ridiculous. And then they'll say, dude, Epic is ridiculous. And they have to decide PR-wise, development-wise, all that, how they're going to go about it. It's a unique time, Matty, and I do think for the next 3 years you're going to see Kickstarters saying we reserve the right. You're going to see them saying not saying what platform on PC. You're going to start seeing them say.
I think that'd be foolish.
I do too, but it'll happen.
But the hiding the platform, that just. I always say this is an industry where saying less says a lot more.
Of course it does, but only to some fans.
Right, the ones who pay close.
The ones who pay attention, yeah. Like, dude, I one time kickstarted. This is embarrassing. I forgot I did this. I kickstarted a game I didn't have the console for at the time. I don't know why. I liked the game. I looked at the game and I thought it was going to be for the console I had. So I was like, okay, no problem. And I didn't even think about it not being for that console. And it wasn't. So, and I know what to look for. And this was many years ago, but Kickstarters for board games are really like this. Kickstarters for card games are like this, where they're like, we don't know who we're going to go with. There's a lot more nebulous whatever in there. I just think you're going to start seeing them offering more rewards. They're going to try to offset it.
Do you think that's allowed in card and board games because there's a little more agency over, like, once you get, the product, there's a lot more control over what you can do with it versus in a game where you have to sign into a platform and then you have to deal with, for example, you sign into the Epic Game Store. There is the issues of security, of getting your account hacked, whereas with, a little more animosity, so to say, when it comes to a board game or a card game, when you buy that product, you kind of control that experience from there and create your own fun rather than stepping into a whole ton of shit like the Epic Game Store, then getting into the game.
It might be, but it might just be you and I knowing that there's a problem with Epic because people knew there was a problem with Sony for 5 years and no one gave a shit.
Yeah,
PSN Network gets hacked fucking every day from Tuesday, bro. Like, I don't even know what's going on with half of my friends who have PSN accounts. They're all hacked. So I don't know. It's like you and I talking to each other. We know, right? We get it. We know. But a lot of consumers I talk to don't consider Epic a thing.
Right.
They consider it a shortcut and they want to play a game. They're not like you and I who see Epic as Tencent, right? Like connected in other ways. They also don't see Steam as bad CSRs or whatever that I see them as. They just see them as shortcuts. So I don't know. The thing is, gaming's so big right now that if you only took the people who don't know, you could sell and be the #1 game fucking 10 years in a row. Because there's so many people playing games now that if you even get this, if you find what you consider a niche, small section of gamers, it's still massive because there's billions of people involved. That's another thing I think. You and I tried to talk to billions, but how many do we reach? On a review, I'll reach 150 to 1 million, right? That's what you and I will both reach. Like, that's sort of like...
I wish I reached to 1 million, but...
You've got 1 million video. You got 1 million.
Well, I'm saying in a review. In a review...
Okay. Well, sorry, that's all I do. So
no,
in any videos...
I'm kidding.
Yeah, in any videos, we have, like, let's say 1 million is our top, but there's billions of people playing games.
Yeah.
So, like, shit.
It's like
how do we get to them?
The whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that too. That too. How many? When you go and look, and it's like 4 minutes drop off, and you're like,
yeah.
All right, well.
They're like, 11-minute video for that.
Yeah, yeah. So
salute to the people who stay that long.
it's interesting. You and I think one thing about Epic and about Steam and stuff like that. I'm going to be super interested in the next 2 years to see if anybody truly does, or if it's all a lot of words.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just a lot of BS from people saying they would. Because, dude, Shenmue's a big title, right? So are people really going to pass it up? You'll get the odd naysayer who's like, I'll pass it up. But is that one person passing it up, but 10 other people, now that it's on Epic, are going to jump on it?
Right?
Exactly. It always does.
Going back to Shenmue 1 and 2 for the HD re-release, it was buggy, but I was reminded, I can confidently say the Platinum's one thing, but finishing that game, if I did not already know I love Shenmue, I probably would have struggled to finish that because I knew, for example, after all that stupid work in the docks, that there was that 100-man or 70-man battle, whatever it was. Like the best part of Shenmue
of the game was there.
Yeah,
was
like,
after.
It was right there, so I knew. But if I didn't know that, oh my god, man! Like I'd just be like, all right, I'm not fucking doing work for another 3 hours. It was very methodical, it was slow, and that was part of its charm. But I just wonder if Shenmue 3, it's going to carry some of that in there. There's no doubt in my mind. They're suddenly going to just modernize things and change why people were like begging for a third one. So I just wonder how you're going to sell people on a game like this nowadays.
Well,
the combat looks
chick
solid.
syndrome. It's hot chick syndrome. Like, the hotter and cooler this game is, the more you'll go through bullshit to be around it. I mean, I know that sounds really bad, but that is the way humans usually work, where if something's really good, you'll go through more of it financially, you'll pay more, or you'll go through more bullshit to get to it. I think you're right. I think if it's good, you're going to see people, they're going to walk back a bunch of their shit. I mean, we've seen it. You and I've seen it. We've got friends who walk shit back.
Yeah.
How often have you had a friend who's like, man, I'd never do that, and then next week they're like, I did what I said I wasn't going to do.
They're like, no way I'm buying that game that you saw it on like Xbox and you just see like on your friends list they're playing the fucking game and you're like, gotta get the story.
Modern Warfare, by the way, Call of Duty. I don't know if you remember this. Call of Duty had a big issue where they actually had a Steam page. It's like, don't buy Call of Duty because of some reason. I can't remember what it was. And somebody took a picture of them the next day. Everybody was playing Call of Duty in that list. So they had joined a group saying, we're not buying Call of Duty for this reason. And then the day after it released, they were all playing Call of Duty.
You gotta wonder, and this is gonna go off track. Do you think there are people out there who just want to provide the adverse effect?
Absolutely.
Like they're, man, I just wonder, like, oh, you think Shenmue 3 is gonna fail? I fucking hate Shenmue, but I'm buying it. Like that type of shit.
Absolutely. I have a friend. I love him to death. I have two friends who that is what they are. I don't know any way to describe it, dude. If they like something, it's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced, and I've discussed it with them for hours personally. If they like something, they'll find a reason not to like it. If they don't like something or other people don't like something, they'll find a reason to like it. It's the odd, and I've watched them change. I've watched them leave a movie, by the way, love the movie, and then when other people like the movie, all of a sudden, their experience changes. And I'll be there with other friends, and I'll be like, do you remember him saying he loved that? And the person's like, yeah. Like, that's all he could talk about. He absolutely adored it. But everybody else liked it. Mm-hmm. So then it was like...
I'll admit, when I was younger, there was that sense of pride. Like, when I loved Danganronpa, and I felt like I was the only one in the fucking world. Like, there was that... I shouldn't say little, but, like, when I was a teen, there was, like, that feeling of, like, yeah, I like something that no one fucking knows about. Right, and I'm preaching about it, and I know no one's listening, but I'm telling you it's good. But the thing is that series got popular, and I still think it's the shit, so... But I guess I could say I understand that feeling of liking something that you're just on the minority.
Yeah.
It's like a sense of pride, like you discovered something.
Film auteurs do it, I think, right? The people with their pinky up about every film. They find some, random film, and they're like, Pip, Pip, you would not believe this film I like. And you're like, well, what is it? Oh, it's German translated into Japanese, then through Russian, and then into sign language. You're like, who the fuck would like that? And they're like, I love it. All right, whatever, dude. Some people, that's just them. And other people may like it, too. I don't think so, but it's possible.
Right on. Okay, Shenmue 3, we'll see how that performs. It'll be a topic that we definitely revisit, by the way.
Oh, yeah. When's it out, by the way?
I think the 30th of November.
It's a weird world to think I played that original on the Saturn and never thought we'd get a 3. So that alone there's a very cool feeling,
right?
To knowing, yeah.
But there's also been some other changes in our industry. Tongue-tied there. PlayStation Plus. This will be interesting to talk about. Detroit Become Human proved to be one of 2018's most divisive games. While some praised its ambitious storytelling, others found its way that it handled themes such as technology, classism, and racism to be underwhelming. If you haven't played the game for yourself, PlayStation Plus has made it one of this month's offerings, so subscribers can find out on which side of the fence they fall. Interestingly enough, Pro Evolution Soccer 2019, or we'll call it during this conversation PES 19, was supposed to be the original offering for this month, but Sony replaced it at the last minute with Detroit for unspecified reasons. Update. We are making a swap to the PS Plus game lineup for July. This month we are adding Detroit Become Human Digital Deluxe Edition, which also includes Heavy Rain. Fuck, I didn't know that. To the July games lineup instead of PES 19. We apologize for any inconveniences. What the fuck? And it's also releasing some indie game, Horizon Chase Turbo, which was already there. Classic arcade racing. I think this was the overhead racing.
Oh, gotcha.
But I gotta ask. A lot of this was due in response to people not being happy with the PlayStation Plus games. Now, if I'm Sony, I would remove the smaller arcadey title and keep PES in Detroit to, buff it up a little bit. Not because Horizon Chase is this bad game, but more so because the issue with this service is over the years you are paying the same, but it's lost consistent value across the board. It lost its Vita games, sure. It's lost its PS3 games, okay. Now we just have 2 PS4 games, and they're offering us not as good ones as we've seen in the past. And there's obviously a lot of deals to work around. I'm sure exclusivities become an issue, but when you look at Games with Gold, Game Pass, the Humble Bundle monthly thing, you scratch your head a little bit at what and how Sony has failed to deliver on this service people are paying for. So what do you feel about the change? What do you think happened? And I wouldn't ask why you feel it happened, but why do you think Sony chose PES over Horizon?
Yeah, see, that I don't know. They cut it out, right? It was going to be on there.
I'm actually looking on the blog right now, and it says like Detroit Become Human Deluxe Edition, and then they have the original text, like Pro Evolution Soccer 2019, but it's all got a cross through it. Like it's all crossed out, but it's still there.
Yeah, see, I don't know why they chose that one. I mean, maybe there was a deal with, maybe they made a later deal with, that would be Electronic Arts, right? EA?
Konami.
Who would that be? That would be Konami. Okay.
And apparently Konami didn't know, and it was like unexpected.
That was going to be my next. Yeah,
Let me see if I can find that. Keep going.
It's very odd to do it without telling anybody because you are technically adjusting prices for games and adjusting services. Also, I assume if you add something to PSN, there's a chance of it being downloaded more often than it normally would. Because like if I had a game that's a year old, it's probably not getting a ton of downloads. Then suddenly, Sony's like, hey, we're putting it on PS Plus. You're like, no problem. And you get it. I think the thing with PES, if I remember right, it's also a mobile game, or was a mobile game. One of the people in my Discord said something like it's got a bad history.
PES?
In some other way. Yeah, in some other way. Like this version is bad, or something like that. I just saw people in the Discord saying like, oh, this makes sense, which I cannot say I know or can agree with. I assume it does make sense. But I will say, putting Detroit and putting Heavy Rain in there, I personally believe is just Sony putting they're trying to put their best foot forward. Those are good games. Detroit Become Human. I don't know what they mean by divisive, because
I think that was fairly like a personal opinion getting inserted.
Yeah, that's almost like me and you wanting to prove that a game isn't good, even though we like it, and finding the people who don't like it and saying, "Oh, that proves it." There might be other people that like it, but you're like, "Oh, this proves my point." Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a weird decision because you assume business has to be.
The new Hertz fast lane.
Like they have to say, we're not gonna offer this, so you don't need to be prepared for this. Payments will be different. I mean, there's a lot that actually goes into it. Maybe Sony has more control than we know. That could be it too. Maybe Sony has control. Maybe Sony has a list of games and is just able to say yay or nay on a game too. I don't know.
Okay, so where do I start? Okay, number one, let's read Konami's response.
Yeah.
They gave a short but clear statement to GameSpot earlier today, which blamed Sony for PES 2019 being removed. The decision was made by Sony, and so please make an inquiry to Sony, was their response.
Ouch.
Yeah. GameSpot is also reporting that a brand manager for PES also told the outlet that he had no idea the change was going to happen. I cannot really tell you what happened because I just found out today in the morning when I opened my laptop. Cannot really explain. So, complete blindside. Now, you said something about, like, this version or whatever.
Yeah, for some reason, somebody said something about that.
I just went to a place that aggregates all the reviews together, Metacritic, just to read some user reviews, some critic reviews, and it seems like, GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10, PlayStation Universe 85. Really good reviews on the critic side of things. But then you go to the user, and one of the main issues is there's no license because FIFA has it, so they have all the teams. So I think PES is like fake teams, fake people.
Oh, I gotcha.
Apparently the netcode is really bad. The AI is like very obviously scripted. And I think people are disappointed based off what I'm seeing because PES used to be that game that people like. Remember how we were just talking earlier? Like they were supporting it in spite of something else, but Konami, for once, was seemingly working on a series that did all the things that people liked and got rid of the bullshit that we'd see in FIFA. But it says, I'm reading one right here, unfortunately, it's ruined by obvious scripting, momentum, and god-awful netcode. It's a shame Konami chose to go the EA way rather than produce the opposite. All about My Club now, which is so boring and limited. It makes Ultimate Team look amazing, but every other mode, just like FIFA, is ignored. They've killed Master League to get you to pay for coins for My Club, and I fear PES 2020 will be the exact same. More interested in Ronaldinho animations and scripting games to get you to buy more coins than overall gameplay content improving their servers. Don't get any more. Greed has just overruled them. So, I'd say that's a fair representation of what I'm generally seeing.
Yeah.
Here in these reviews. GameSpot gave it a 9, but starts it off by saying the lack of licenses for top-tier leagues remains a disheartening sticking point, but PES continues to make brilliant strides on the pitch, building on what was an already incredibly satisfying game of football to produce one of the greatest football-playing games of all time.
Dude, it must be a shitter. It must be a stone-cold poop to be working on a game and not have the license, bro. Imagine I had a game that was just turning left in high-speed cars, but I couldn't call it NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I couldn't say Kyle Petty
or fast racing cars.
Yeah, right. Like fast left-turning racing. I get people are going to get mad. It's just a joke about NASCAR. Obviously, they do have some more detailed races, but overall, that is what they're known for. It would be really weird. It's like what Sega went through when they lost the ability to do NFL, and I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's like I didn't know all that stuff exists. Konami, in their response, though, indicates to me that maybe
bitterness.
Bitterness. Maybe Sony just doesn't like the game doesn't feel that it's very, I don't know, quality. And PSN is a contested area now.
I guess my other thought is, actually, never mind. Wouldn't it be the devs paying Sony, or would Sony be paying the devs to say, "Hey, let us put your game on PS Plus"? I'm not sure how that goes, but I was just thinking.
It's funny you mention it because I don't think anybody knows right now.
Yeah, my
how
theory
all that works
would be if Sony's paying them, it might be cheaper to pay for the arcade indie game and a former exclusive. Obviously, now it's on the Epic Game Store, but a former exclusive to your console rather than PES with Konami. That might have just been like a bad deal. But if it was last minute, how much money was on the table, if any? Like, I guess the check didn't go through
fines
yet. It's interesting. I think this is not the end of what we're seeing here. I think we're gonna learn more. I think what it did though was light a fire under Sony's ass, and I'm curious to see what their August lineup is, because that's what's got my attention really. Is okay, you responded, you reacted. Is it going to be worth it now? Because I don't think this will be the end of that, and it's not like all of a sudden if you release bad stuff in August, we're going to go, oh, we got Detroit Become Human, and maybe this Turbo Racer game is good too. We got these 2 games in July, so I think the only reason people were excited about June's lineup is because we got the free DLC for Borderlands, and it was like $1 for Game Pass, so you could get Borderlands that way. Like, there was just this industry-wide excitement for Borderlands to access the new DLC at a cheap or no cost. So, I think that's why they were able to skate by that month. But all in all, man, really, really interesting story. I'm very keen to see how that one shapes up.
Yeah, so am I. Especially, I just like the business behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
like
I do too.
How does it all?
I'd kill to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, how does that end up happening? And are people absolutely, beyond pissed about it, or just like, oh, okay, whatever? It depends on how much money changes hands.
How many middle fingers get flashed in this conversation? You wonder.
Yep.
All right. Moving on over, we're going to talk about Marvel a little bit. Seems there's some updates on the horizon for that slew of games. Once again, we're still on Game Informer. When Marvel Avengers was shown at E3 last month, fans were kind of expecting a little more than what was shown at Square Enix's E3 conference. While the publisher went into things like how the voice actors feel about the characters, which I just need to, pause. That was one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever seen. My body literally curled into a ball when I saw that. I was like, no! Like, watching Troy Baker try to, decipher why the Hulk was this super interesting character, but not actually talking about why, just saying he's really complex. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, script, thank you. Very little was shown about the actual gameplay, and had mostly to be gleaned from behind closed doors demos and glowing interviews. Now it seems like we'll get our next bit of info from San Diego Comic-Con in July. Marvel has a game panel on July 18th, hosted by professional loudmouth Greg Miller, though I feel like I'm stretching the definition of professional even if loudmouth was their description. That's his writing, not mine. The panel summary says that it will show new content for Avengers, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Iron Man VR, and promises surprises as well. Miller will be joined by special guests, which presumably means some developers from those games, and Bill Roseman, who is Vice President and Creative Director at Marvel Games. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 releases that following day on the Switch. So we'll likely get the very last character reveals or DLC characters, which got an announcement of X-Men Fantastic Four and Marvel Knights at E3. And then Iron Man VR is scheduled for PSVR later this year, and naturally we know Marvel Avengers is May next year. So, what do you think we're going to see from Square Enix's Marvel Avengers? Do you think we're going to see the behind closed doors gameplay? They're going to take like a CD Projekt Red approach where they said, we're going to hold the behind closed doors gameplay from E3, save it for Gamescom, in their case for San Diego Comic-Con, and then release it there to make the most usage out of the gameplay we've taken the time to get together?
Man, I just feel like they don't know. I feel like they have no clue how to show the game.
I know.
Like they feel
Anthem so much.
Yeah, they
so
feel
much.
genuinely lost. And I don't know if I would say like lost in a bad way. Maybe lost in a Ultimate Alliance is coming out and it doesn't do anything special other than bring a cherished title forward. And it's not pushing any systems, and it's exclusive on Switch, but for some reason people are comparing them and saying they want the Switch one. So it's like at some point you look at your game and go, where are we?
I think it's because people just see Marvel roster.
But they also see the game. They fucked up that initial show, man. Like, dude,
God, yeah.
We had to go look at hacked fucking cell phone footage that looked like looking through a vulva. And you're watching, it's all shiny. And you're like, what am I seeing? I see, and then they're all, that's game. I saw somebody say, dude, that's gameplay. And I'm like, dude, that's exactly what we saw in the trailer. Even if that is gameplay, it's nothing else. Like, in fact, it looks worse. We're not really seeing anything. They showed it poorly, and until we see what it is, I cannot get excited for it right now. Like, I'm genuinely not even dissing on it. I am so not excited for it.
I'm right there with you, bro.
Until I can go, oh, I get it. Right now, I have no clue what it is. I almost feel dumb for like guessing, because I feel like I'm going to get burned. I feel like they're hiding something, you know. I mean, I could be wrong, but it feels like they are.
I'd say I have the utmost confidence when you have behind closed doors gameplay. You have voice actors talking about characters like, you know, they're more than what they are, which, you know, to an extent they are. You don't show gameplay. It just had all the marks of a game that they don't know how to show it off and make it something to be excited about. So they're going to keep delaying, keep waiting, get the marketing cycle going, but they're going to keep pushing it off until the last possible minute. And they're going to let a lot of, like this article mentioned, glowing interviews, discussions, word of mouth do the trick, which, you know, just doesn't, for me anymore. You can talk, say what you're going to do, say what's going to happen, but I just feel like I've done these, like, interview pieces, and I've covered them for so long and read them for so long, like many others, where it's like, okay, when you got something to show me, I'll care. And that's, like, the prime feeling I have with this game. Like, you guys, even behind that behind closed doors gameplay, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't even know how to describe this gameplay to someone. Like, can you switch characters in the middle of the gameplay?
What the fuck is a glowing interview, bro?
I think it's along the lines of softball questions asked and giving the developers that opportunity to be like,
and
well,
then
you see, in our game, we've got...
And then rating that answer as glowing? Because that makes... So,
well,
if I said a glowing
preview... It's actually hyperlinked. Let's see what glowing interview is.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah, because if I said glowing preview...
It's his own interview on Game Informer. Interesting.
What? Who is this?
Considering it is a Marvel interview, it is obviously very edited and prepared, but for people still confused about how the game actually works, Amos is pretty open about it. Or Amos, sorry, is very open about it. There is a single-player campaign that eventually and inevitably feeds into the online multiplayer as you make progress.
Maybe he didn't mean the word glowing.
No, I think it's... Because let me check the writers real quick. Same writers. Okay. I think what he's trying to slip in here, without directly saying... Because he calls it a glowing interview. He links his own interview and then goes, considering it's a Marvel interview, it is it is obviously very edited and prepared. And then in this quote interview, you know how usually it's in a question-answer format? It's not even that. It's 3 paragraphs of quotes. No questions. It just says, yes, the entire campaign, the core campaign, is actually designed to give everyone a chance to get with these heroes. As you unlock these heroes and you go through the core campaign, you'll actually experience every one of them. He says, explaining the delineation between single and multiplayer. And as you unlock them, they become available to use online. You can just go straight online after you play that first mission and play with your friends and start unlocking other heroes. It's imperative to us that people actually have a chance to get to know these characters and get to play with our unique take on them, but then also have this expansive world that can be played single player. So they're like...
And remember, there is no dual player campaign in this game.
Mm-hmm. It's like a whole separate, like, Spec Ops
It's a whole,
mode.
it's a spec. Yeah, that was your example, I think, 2 weeks ago when we last talked. Maybe 3, I think, because we missed 2 weeks ago. That's exactly right, like a Spec Ops. A side multiplayer component that's aside the campaign, but not within the campaign.
It seems like, to me, I'm just trying to read between the lines here. I think it's very obvious that he's trying to, like, put on the warning flashers, like, hello, like we did a quote interview, and they kind of controlled what we could actually put out there. Like, all that, dude, I'm sorry, but if you're excited for this game, just take a step back. Take a step back and really look. Obviously, pay attention to what they're doing on July 18th. That'll be a big determining factor. But yeah, just keep your wits about you, folks. I don't know. I don't trust shit about this game right now. I can't.
And what I always say is, if we turn out wrong, that's cool, because that means going forward, if this comes up again, you can point at it and go, all right, remember when this happened with this game? The problem is it's been many years, and I don't remember the last time where I was truly able to go, remember when we thought this and it turned out to be this? The only time I could say, no, I can't.
The way I look at it...
It's pretty rare. It's pretty rare.
How do I word it? If I'm marketing a game, I want to help sell this game, and I feel confident about it, don't you just show the game?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, if you're the marketer and you're sitting there and you go, no, don't show the game. Keep it behind closed doors. Let people talk about it, but don't show anything really. What does that actually tell you about the game? That's what it says to me. And here's the thing. We could, to some extent, say the same thing about CD Projekt Red. But the difference is they released 48 minutes of unedited gameplay that we literally...
No, they did.
That was the exact same thing I saw at E3 last year. It took a little bit longer, but they did one thing, and then they justified it, and they're doing it again this year. And I get it. So you could apply the same argument. You could counter it that way. But I look at it from that perspective where I'm like, if they're scared to show the game to get people excited, and they're trying to control the ways that excitement becomes a thing for folks, like interviews, like not showing gameplay, voice actor trailers, just weird places the resources are going, that screams to me that they're not A, sure, or B, confident.
Yeah.
Or C,
agreed.
it's not all together. Where they can show it and explain it and be like, here's the single-player gameplay, you're going to unlock Thor, and now we're going to go online. Like, maybe they don't have that all together yet where they could show it, but, I mean, if the game's coming out next May, 10 months from now, I feel like that's a part of the infrastructure that should be together. I don't know, man.
No, I would agree with all that.
Good to know. Good to know. Let's move on to Paradox. So they had some interesting comments, and this would have fit in nicely with when we were talking about Epic, but we definitely wanted to break up that flow a little bit, because I just feel like every single conversation in the games industry is dominated by Epic. So here we are with Paradox Interactive, nice little developer, and they are calling the traditional 70-30 revenue split outrageous for video games. At a Game Lab, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, still on Game Informer, at a Game Lab panel last week, Paradox Interactive's Frederick Wester spoke on a largely unchanged revenue model, the 70-30 split. Developers keep 70% of a game's revenue, and the platform holders, Valve, Microsoft, Sony, Apple, Nintendo, and others, keep the remaining 30%. However, with the rise of digital sales and the Epic Game Store's more favorable 88-12 split, Wester believes the model is outdated. Quote, I think the 70-30 model is outrageous, end quote, Wester said. Quote, I think the platform holders are taking too much money. Everyone in the press here just quote me on that, end quote. Wester details how Warner Brothers established that 70-30 split in the 1970s as a precedent back when they released films on VHS and when video games were very much in their infancy. With today's increasingly digitized methods of content distribution, Wester claims this model is outdated. The Epic Game Store has challenged that model with its more generous 88-12 revenue split, which has attracted many developers to release their games on the store as opposed to Steam. While favorable to developers, however, consumers have been frustrated with the store's lack of options and features present in Steam. Yeah. Wester and others are challenging other platform holders to match Epic's revenue model. When the competition is low and the platform holder can get a big share of the pie, as competition increases, they need to lower their part of the pie as well. Wester said, that's how the market works, right? Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Where do you stand on the 70-30 split? Because I look at it like as a YouTuber, like if it was we got 70 and YouTube took 30, I'd be kind of tight too. But I think it's a little bit different with video games. Yeah. So what do you think?
I think that he's probably also trying to step in front of the inevitable fire truck that's headed our way, which is digital streaming. One of the reasons why is because some of this other stuff he said at that panel, a lot of people are taking issue with, which we can talk about it if we want, but it involves basically he believes he should be paid more per game because his games are longer than somebody who maybe their game is only 20 hours because Paradox, it's very stupid. But I believe he's probably trying to get out in front of things like digital, which is where Microsoft says, we're streaming your title from our servers, in some way paying the bandwidth stuff, so we want you to pay even more than the 30-70 split. So it's probably pretty intelligent for him to come out and get some of this shit taken care of right away, because he is right. 70-30 was built, 30% was to cover physical distribution, creation of the CDs, a gold master, You take a gold master, you put it on a machine, and it creates your copies. And usually it's 100,000 copies it can make before it dies out. And you can do those kind of things. All of that stuff was done. 70% goes to the game manufacturer or the game creator. And then even that is parsed out a lot of times.
Yeah.
It wasn't even truly 70-30. So the digital companies came in and they said it's still 70-30. And they sort of made up some shit, including marketing and some other stuff that they put out. But I think it's pretty smart for him to get out in front of it, because I do think 70-30 is pretty crazy. I do believe, if I remember right, Microsoft also changed it for their indie program with the original and the 360. They had a couple different pricing adjustments. I also think Game Pass is going to change some of this. But no, I agree with him. 30% is pretty fucking high. And it's pretty high when it's
almost a third of your game.
Yeah, and it's just the digital, right? It's like, if it was 30, if I went with, who's the company you like so much who takes digital games and makes them physical? Limited Run.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, my dogs.
I love Limited Run as well.
Yeah, they're just like, Bo, man, we're on it. But Limited Run, you look at those, that makes sense, right? You need to pay them, maybe not 30%, but they're making a physical copy. They're making a manual, perhaps, which is another thing that went away. Remember when manuals were a thing?
Oh,
they're
God,
not
yeah.
a thing now, right? Big ones, thick ones, all that shit.
Yeah, the maps, the tutorials, everything you want to know. Oh, man.
Yeah, and what I think a thing that points to the biggest question of the 70-30 is something that's become very prevalent now, and that's 70-30 does not change if you do a platinum or special edition game. So that means, let's say your game has a cloth map and has a fucking token that you dug up from your backyard made of gold. It actually doesn't go beyond 30, which I think right there indicates that there's some issues with the way the prices are done all over. Not only the physical, that's the physical side, but also the digital, which there's nothing created. 30% doesn't really make any sense, because it could go higher than 30 if you're doing crazy shit, and it could go lower than 30 if you're on digital and you're not doing any shit. But instead, neither has changed. However, everything else has, except for game prices. They're sort of meandering around. But yeah, makes total sense. I'm glad he brought it up. I just wish he wasn't such a jackass, because he hurts himself with his you know how it is, the delivery and how you say
he's
it.
Aggressive. He's clearly like pissed about it.
Yeah, and then it colored some other stuff he said, and then you get the argument over that versus the real argument.
Because
he's right.
I was going to say, we'll discuss the 70-30 split. They'll bring up what he said earlier instead in light of that and go, well, that has nothing to do with what we're trying to focus on here.
Exactly. Well, we've had it with YouTube videos where, like, you'll bring up something, somebody will be like, blah, 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 and you'll be like, wait, what? That's in a video about, like, fucking, go-karts. Like, what are you talking about? Those two aren't connected. But it's easy to connect them if you're trying to pretend that there's some tissue there that holds them together, and there's not. He's smart. 70-30 makes sense. He needs to get it down as low as possible, especially, like I said, as digital games and streaming become a thing. You don't want to be a company. Imagine being 70-30, and then that company shows up at your house, and they're all, oh, we've been giving you a deal this entire time, but now that you're going to be using our streaming service, we want 45%.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just going to see everyone run to Epic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they're smart. They're the ones who dropped theirs.
Yeah.
Which is very
I don't think anyone, maybe Steam, would be able to match Epic with the 8812, but I just think like 80-20 even is possible. Then maybe that 70-30 with the streaming service could make a little more sense.
I think they could. I don't know. I would have to.
I think Microsoft and Sony could do like 8812?
Yeah, I personally right now, other than marketing, that digital doesn't. It's a crypt on your server somewhere. They should certainly pay. You could even charge them for downloads. You could do something. But this 30% means if your game sells nothing, you still pay 30%. If another game sells something, they pay 30. Like, it at some point it becomes unbalanced for one of those two groups. Yeah. And personally, I just don't feel like it should be anywhere near 30. I honestly believe it should be 95-5, and I've believed that for years. So,
I'd love that. Yeah.
Steam in particular, Steam is swimming in fucking games. They don't even have a CSR. Email them and ask for help, and I guarantee you it'll take weeks before some fucking dude named Steve at his house emails you back and says, "Oh, you're having a problem." They don't have any support. Their search engine doesn't even work. So I don't think they should be getting more money. I think they should be giving more to developers. And Steam and Epic both.
Because they're just converting into platforms at this point that just host games rather than supporting them.
Exactly. They're hosting games. And if you talk to any developer who uploads to Steam, they'll tell you it's very difficult because they haven't even made tools correctly for the developer to get their game on Steam right. So the developer's doing almost all the shit you see. Like the fucking texting and, how things are split up. That's all done by them, or them at least identifying. It's not done automatically. So Steam hasn't been like, "Oh, hunky-dory, we'll build you new tools." Their search engine, I went yesterday and looked for a game with the word "the" in it, and it never came up. And I found another Discord person who's like, "Oh, you know how I found the game? Put a dash before the." And we seriously have no clue why that worked, but it did work. The game would not show up if you type it normally.
I was probably found by accident, too.
And I think it was, because I bitched, and I'm pretty sure they said, "Do you know what? I put a dash in front of it," and that's why it worked. And Epic, I think Epic's really smart. I think Epic comes across as a good guy when, in fact, they're just less of a bad guy.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Imagine it's a sandpaper blowjob, right? You're just like, "Oh, it's a blowjob." Yeah, it's covered in sandpaper, like it's better than none, maybe. But that's what Epic's getting away with.
I don't even want to imagine. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh,
with you.
sorry.
I don't even want to think of that cheese grater feeling.
We'll change the compare. But you know what I mean. Like, they appear to be less of a bad guy, right? Because they say, "Oh, look at us, man. We're best friends. So we're gonna drop it down this certain percent." But in real life, they're still padding their coffers with unbelievable amounts of cash in a store that doesn't even have a shopping cart. So if I want to buy 2 games, I have to buy them separate because those fuckers don't know how to even program what Squarespace can do for $5.99 a month, which is how much it would cost me to put a shopping cart on my website on Squarespace, and they can't even figure that out. So
they don't want to.
I don't know. We've discussed this in other podcasts, I think even with you. I still don't know why they wouldn't want to. Why would you not want somebody to be able to buy 2 things, Matty? If you had 2 shirts.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think they just care about getting you to buy 1 thing, let alone 2. They're like, how many people are going to buy 2? It's like, well.
And bro, it's the worst. It's not even a diss on Epic. It's the worst store I've ever seen.
Yeah. I agree.
It's just these huge thumbnails. They're terrible. And it's awesome because right now you do have developers who are like, "Man, they're giving us that extra percentage." That'll only last for a while, too. You and I will be around, most likely you more than me. Depends on heart cancer, whenever I get it. But there's a chance we'll be around when these companies start talking about Epic not offering very much as well. And then you're going to have another company who comes forward and says, "Well, look at us. We'll give you another 5%. Like, that's... you and I should make a company. Dude, Squarespace, $5.99 a month. I can have a cart. We'll call it Cart Space. We'll just
give
sell
these developers
games.
Carts on their new engines and shit.
Exactly. And we'll do like 10%, but we'll be like, "Dude," and I'll even write, "This is not like a sandpaper blowjob. This is truly us trying to reach out to you to help you as a developer. 10%
little
and a
punch
cart."
line underneath, like a shopping cart logo.
This is
shopping cart made out of like fucking sandpaper.
Exactly. Get a little animation of it just scratching down the road. I don't know, man. I think it's awesome. I think that them talking about it's great. It'll be cool, dude, to see devs get more. That's why you and I celebrate Games Pass so much, because those guys are actually coming out of it and going, "Oh, okay, this helped me out this time," which I don't think a lot of them get.
I don't know, man. I feel like Epic, it makes sense. I feel like Nintendo, I'd expect a split like that out of, just because they literally are like just resting on piles of gold.
The Gestapo.
Yeah. I just feel like everyone should be able to bump it up even a little bit. It's strange that it has yet to happen.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is.
All right, well, hopefully Paradox and the rest of the industry gets their way. For now, we move on to our last news topic, which is Alan Wake. So, we got an article that's not from Game Informer. It is from Eurogamer, in fact. The original story reads, Remedy Entertainment has regained the publishing rights to Alan Wake from Microsoft, now busy crafting the very promising-looking Control, which, by the way, I don't know anything about. I have not looked up this game. Remedy told investors it would earn approximately 2.5 million euros in royalties for previously released games this year after ownership of the spooky novel writing adventure shooter reverted back to the studio. It's fair to say the relationship between Remedy and Microsoft was left strained by the pair's last project together, the live-action TV game hybrid that Karak loves oh so much, Quantum Break. Remedy has since made a point of saying its future now lies in making games for all platforms, and Control was announced last year during PlayStation's E3 2018 conference. Then there was an update. Speaking to Eurogamer, Alan Wake developer Remedy has teased the possibility of a multi-platform release for its previously Microsoft-owned Hero. The only thing we want to clarify now, that Remedy owns the publishing rights, is that we could bring Alan Wake to different platforms if we choose so. A Remedy spokesperson told me this afternoon. We have nothing to announce for now. We are fully focused on Control releasing on the 27th of August. Don't expect to hear anything more on Alan Wake until after then, but it sounds as if a PlayStation release is in the cards. Fuck yeah. Cool. You gotta be pumped. I know you love Alan Wake. I think it's a great game, but I know you love it.
Yeah, and I mean...
You have a shirt based off it. Still Awake.
I do. I just don't necessarily know why Microsoft and them can't agree on if it's worth it. I don't know what Remedy wanted to do, too. Remedy might have wanted to went nuts, and after seeing Quantum Break, which I was not a fan of,
really?
Maybe Remedy, and I didn't like it as much as everybody else. I gave it a wait. I liked the story though, I actually liked the show, even though nobody else did. I liked the idea of it. How about that? I thought that was cool.
I think it would be so cool.
Oh, dude! And once we get a game, well, like Witcher 3, the show, right? Like if we can get that mix, it's going to be that social moment. But yeah, man, it's awesome. I will say, they've had issues with the source code, so I don't know what the remake would look like on the PS4, if it would just be like a, here it is on the PS4. And it's an old game. But I'm going to tell you, do you know what would be awesome is if I woke up and they're like, Alan Wake remake. If they were like
a full-on remake, wow.
Yeah, and maybe leave it a little bit more open-ended for sequels. Like, if they were just like, hey, we're going to remake it, because that would still cost less than a remaster. But allow them to use 4K assets and better animation. Because, dude, if you play it, I love it. But he controls like somebody took a crutch and shoved it up his ass. Like, and I love him, but Alan Wake is like, wherever he goes. And it's not great. So the idea of you playing it, like if I know what you liked it. Let's say somebody we know didn't play it and saying, hey, go play this now. You know how it is where you go back to an old game and you're like, damn, this is crunchy. Damn. I don't know if you want a horror game very crunchy. I just don't know if you do. I think it might.
The old Resident Evils.
Well, true.
I feel like that's
but
always
they
been
have
a
their
staple,
name.
I've never understood why.
Yeah, you mean the shit control? I can guarantee.
Yeah.
I can guarantee it has to do with purposely limiting the game player in their abilities.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. And I'm just like, don't you guys think like the thing they're running away from or the thing they're scared of, they want to smoothly, escape from, not get stuck on a wall or something?
Yeah, or just, the jump where you see in those older games where the character just goes like bends a knee and then just there's not even an animation, they just pop off the ground. Yeah, man, I'm stoked for it, and I think Remedy's a good company. I really enjoy them. But I will say this, I don't necessarily believe it's all on MS that they didn't figure out what to do. That's what worries me a little bit. Is that also, because remember, MS had the first chance to have platform exclusive for Control and passed it up, which to me indicates, I mean, sure, Phil can be wrong, because I'm assuming it'd be Phil and his, whoever that secondary guy is, I can't remember his name, Bottoms or something? He's got a weird name. Those guys are in control of, I can't remember his name, but they're in control of like what games come in. They could both be wrong and have looked at it and it wasn't good. But after seeing Quantum Break, it makes me worry that Control maybe isn't as... And dude, you said you didn't know about Control. I've been following it, and I gotta say, it's not really lighting fires for a lot of people. It's pretty it's Gennaro.
Completely dead silence on that one. I've heard nothing about it, man.
Yeah, it reminds me of Quantum Break 2, but with like a less enjoyable character. You see a couple people doing previews on it. I saw some video on it, and it looked okay, but I haven't seen anything that like would make most gamers go, "Oh, I need that," other than Remedy, other than them.
Yeah, I was going to say they're one of the few companies that you see, taking chances and doing really cool, different things, starting with Alan Wake, moving into Quantum Break. I don't know enough about Control to speak on it, but yeah, it's interesting to see how little attention it's grabbed. So it must be.
Yeah.
I feel like, we've seen these really good games go under the radar, but I just feel like this one's silence is a little bit different because I've seen people talk about it and then just off like a light switch. It's just nothing.
Because didn't Game Informer also cover it?
We were joking. Like, what the fuck haven't they covered?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah. I think they have. And the fact that you and I both haven't like gravitated towards whatever article they may have written to cover that is, I think, a little bit telling. So for whatever reason, it's not grabbing people. You know how it's a character sometimes. In fact, I think Alan Wake is probably, somewhat of the character, the way he talks, whatever. Quantum Break didn't have that. I like Sean Austin. Is that no Sean? I can't remember his name. The guy who plays the main character in Quantum Break. I liked him, but I didn't gravitate towards him. And I'm a little nervous the same thing's happening.
That's all I cared about. Yeah, I was so.
And I liked Lance Riddick, the super tall black guy, black actor, Lance Riddick from Fringe.
Oh, he's so good.
Oh, dude, they're all good. I personally think that's actually a very good, an enjoyable show. I guess even removed from the game, I sort of liked the ideas of what was going on. Remember that man. Download 200 gigs, bro.
Yeah, I sure fucking do. I sure fucking do. And I reviewed that. Oh my god, that game, man. I see. I don't know. I'd have to go back and play that at some point, but I don't have that itch to play. And that's the one thing that's weird with Remedy games. I play them; they're such a different experience. I haven't had one I didn't like yet, but I never feel like except for Quantum Break, I played twice. Because, you get the different episodes based off your choices or whatever.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. No. I mean, like, I played it once. It came back, like, a year later. No, I played it twice, I think, for my review. And, but it was... Their games, there's just something about them that I just don't hurry back to. And, in fact, Alan Wake was one the first time I played it was years after its launch. Because my friend was, like... over the moon on it, and it was $10 at GameStop. I was like, all right, give it a shot. And
right.
I played it. I beat it in 2 days. I very much enjoyed it. More so, I couldn't tell you a thing about its story. The gameplay is what stuck with me. A flashlight being your main weapon is kind of different from anything else I've ever seen in a game. I still haven't seen anything like that. I can't think of anything like that. So, that was cool. But other than that, the Remedy games just, I don't know, they don't sync with me as deeply as I feel others have when they speak about their prior work.
I think also they have a tendency to not necessarily end, but I would certainly say that with Alan Wake, you could beat it and think to yourself, I'm not really going to get anything more by replaying it at all, where maybe other games...
They're more complete experiences, I guess.
Yeah, they are, yeah. And I'm not even saying they're good or better or anything. I'm just saying they do... In Alan Wake, you wouldn't have learned more about what was going on with that story by playing it again. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have really picked up anything new. Quantum Break, I can see why you played it twice, because they did actually go out of their way to make it the 2 episodes, the choice. So that makes more sense that you said you played that twice. But I can see that one in Max Payne, and now it looks like
Control, Max Payne, that's one I forgot. Max Payne was really fucking good. I always forget
3?
They did that. Did they do 3?
Or
was it 2?
Well, that's the one I thought you were talking about. I was going to say 1 and 2 were done by them, and then like 2K.
I take it back. Max Payne's a series I've gone back to. Those are great games. I always forget they do them though. Those are great though.
Well, they don't feel like their other games is probably why. They don't. Yeah. I mean,
it's also just the way Max Payne 1 starts. It's just really grounded and gritty. There's just something about it.
Running on the blood trails in your psyche as like your kid is crying and your wife is yelling at you, and you're like, you do the voiceover. It's just, I remember yesterday.
Right. The first level in the subway station, just like completely abandoned. And you're just like shooting the place up. It's just like really grim. I don't know.
Very Matrix style too, with shit coming off the walls when you're firing. Like
slow-mo dives.
Yep. And him with constipation face.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
digitalized face, and he's just all the time. He's like, "My name's Max Payne. I got poop." I love
That's
that.
actually one of the most accurate representations I've ever.
Dude, when you look at him, does he not have like consistent constipation face through the entire game? I love it though. Yeah. They just don't feel like other Remedy games though. Yeah. I don't think if you told me Max Payne was made by somebody else, I would believe that more than if I didn't know and you said Remedy made Alan Wake and also made Max Payne. I'd be like,
turnover. Different people at the studio probably.
Yeah, it can definitely be that. Different genre too, but it just doesn't even animation-wise feel the same. It's definitely got some differences.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, Alan Wake has a chance to head over to the PlayStation, and that is your news for the week, but we still have Patron questions. I see on my phone we have 10 new messages.
All right.
So that'll be fun. Let's start off with... Let's see here. Oh, man. We have, like, a consistent thing now, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see because, like, normally, as you guys know, when we started, we go, like, 4 or 5 questions. But we have a ton, so I actually have to sift through them. All right. We'll start off with Crazy Herb. Do you guys think that certain video game franchises shouldn't have had sequels or that certain franchises should die? Well, Crazy Herb, happy Friday to you as well.
Yeah, no shit.
Huh. I always believe... I don't know. I don't think there's ever been like a really... Unless it's like Ride to Hell Retribution. That's like the first one that comes to mind. But there's very infrequently a time where a original game's bad and then they do a sequel. And I'm like, I don't want that because there is the chance that feedback has been accounted for and it becomes the game that we all had originally wanted. It's really hard for me to think of a certain video game franchise that shouldn't have had a sequel. I'm sure after this I'll think of something and go like, right, that series went on way too long. But as of now, my negativity joints aren't in place. I can't currently think of anything that I disliked so much. What about you?
No, I would agree. I joke about it consistently. I would never want somebody to say you can't make a sequel, because how do I know the sequel won't turn out good?
Oh, I got one. It's not a sequel. It's just a game that shouldn't have existed. Yeah, Dragon Ball Ultimate Tenkaichi on like the PS3 and 360. It's just cutscenes. It's just cutscenes. Like you hit the square button, but it's just cutscenes. It's one of the worst fucking games I've ever played. And you know how much I love Dragon Ball. It is awful. Awful. Strong recommendation against that one ever touching the industry.
I think it's very hard to identify like any title that you like hate so much you don't want to see a sequel get a chance. That's really like next level hatred.
Yeah, and I can't think of.
I don't usually feel that way. Yeah, I do know he's saying like, what's another game that has got released where you sort of look at it and go, man, that original shouldn't have got a sequel, and the sequel didn't improve it.
Like it's usually after the fact. It's not before the fact. I'm like, shouldn't have done that. It's
Halo Wars 2. I was one of the few that really disliked it compared to everybody else, and I never was a fan of Halo Wars 1. So I would say that was one where I was like, what? But I like the idea of an RTS on... See, that's the problem. I love the idea of an RTS on consoles. So I'm like, go for it. Give it a try.
I was going to say, we also have the perspective, not that others lack this, but we consider it maybe a little more heavily that when we make a video, we're talking for ourselves, but we also talk on the behalf of a lot of other folks. And we have to consider what they like, where I may sit here and go, I liked Halo Wars 2 a lot. I enjoyed the first one, but I'm not a diehard. Like, I had a friend who had 1,300 hours in Halo Wars 1, obsessed, might be an understatement. And, while I may not be huge on... I have a friend who's got like 600 hours in VR chat in like 2 months, so that's help.
Okay, that needs help, and I like VR chat, but even I'm like, whoa, bro, put it down.
Oh, God, yeah. His VR headset broke. It was one of the best things that happened to him. But yeah, what I was trying to originally say was, fuck, if only I remembered. It wasn't that important, clearly.
It was just that we have to look at not only just at the game, but like for other people.
I made my original
if
point.
It's a
and I was going to keep
game,
talking about nothing.
No, it makes sense. It's definitely a good thought.
Grimblade with the tough question. It's just the Grimblade this episode. Not even just Grimblade. Sorry, it's the Grimblade, just like he used to be. If you could forget any moment in a video game, whether to re-experience it or remove a bad memory, what would it be and why? Also, no KOTOR answers. And he put like a little devil smile face. You know, like, haha, bitch.
Good, I can still cheat.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear your cheating answer.
For sure. Mass Effect 1, the ending, when you think Shepard's dead. It's the only time in my entire life where I've ever been physically affected by a game. Like, excited. I don't shed a tear. I rarely ever get that emotionally invested, but I thought he was dead, and I actually really enjoyed Mass Effect. I was by myself. You think he's dead, ship crashes, and then all of a sudden you see some shadows in the background. You think it's the bad guy, because the bad guy's been strong through the entire thing, and he comes out, and it was an America fuck yeah moment, where I was like, yeah! And I stood up by myself, no one was in the house, and I gave a fist bump, which is single-handedly the most reaction I've ever had in a video game. Like, all my friends, they'll be playing tearful games, people be dying, and I'm the guy. That's why the joke in my Discord is the unimpressed Karak. Because, like, people be dying, people be lit on fire, and I'll be all... And all my friends always laugh at me. They're like, dude, seriously? Like, that person's the main character. Yeah, feel something, bitch. And I'm like, no, I feel something. Nothing comes out. Like, I get it. Yeah, okay, they're dead. So that one, I would, without a shadow of a doubt, love
There's very few games that do evoke that, like, physical...
Yeah.
I talk to myself
without
more
thinking about...
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
When I game, like, oh, wow.
This is awesome. You'll say, like, this is awesome or something.
Yeah. Or usually, like, wow or whoa or what the fuck? You know, like, that type of shit. Like,
I've definitely said that.
Yeah. But, like, the physical, like, stand up out of my chair, I'd say... Oh, man. I wouldn't pick this as my moment I want to re-experience. Maybe I would, though. It's the last time I remember I fucking popped out of my chair. Outside of maybe, I think Nier Automata made me do it. But I fondly remember The Last of Us at the end of Act 1 when... I'm going to spoil it because, ladies and gentlemen, this game's been out for fucking ever.
Yeah,
so
it's
if
been
you
out
haven't played
forever.
The Last of Us, go play it. Do yourself that favor. It's really cheap. Okay, spoiler 3, 2, 1. When the kid shoots himself and then, like, the chapter just ends... Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Like, that caught me so fucking off guard. And, like, I sprung out of my chair, like, holding my head, like, what just happened? And, like, the next chapter picks up. You're like, you want me to keep going? That, like, that hit me so hard.
That's cool, though.
That fucking blew my mind. Because it just, like, you know, you're fighting for this, like, peace and salvation for just, like, a moment of respite. And then you finally get there, and it just... falls the fuck apart.
It fucks with you.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. I remember wholeheartedly not expecting that. It totally had me captured. I might pick that because that was, like I said, you know, it's, as Karak mentioned, very rarely do I spring out of my seat for a game and go, whoa.
It did dawn on me, though, when you said you go, like, wow. I have a tendency to say out loud, I say it out loud, and I've caught myself, and the only reason I caught myself is Shadowplay records my mic. And I won't know I'm talking. So there was one time recently, in fact, I was playing a game, and I said out loud, wow, this is way more fun than I expected it to be, but nobody was here. I was completely alone, and I heard it because I looked at my audio, and I saw a bump when I was editing, and I was like, what's that bump? I must have hit the mic. And then it's me. It was so weird to hit play, and I thought it was going to be like me tapping the mic, and instead it's me talking to myself where I don't remember doing it. So I certainly, at least at times, do what you do and say, like, oh, wow, this is a cool moment.
I also think of, like, first time you exit the vault in Fallout 3. I think of the fucking moment I had, like, 3 years ago with Persona 4, where... This is one of my favorite games of all time. I beat it.
Persona 4?
Yeah, I got the bad ending for Persona 4. I was like, that's one of the best games I ever played. I walked away, didn't touch this game for a while, and then I came back to replay it for fun, and I found out I picked the wrong ending. And there was a whole nother 20 hours I had yet to experience. And it was like this awakening of, there's so much more to the thing I love. And it was like a whole new experience. That was really, really fucking awesome. You know, due to my stupidity, I guess, or lack of awareness,
Was Fallout 3 right when you walked out? Because I was shaking my head laughing because I told you I tried it like 8 times, 9 times, and then had to travel, and then suddenly saw how much I liked it. But coming out did you notice it when you just came out on the ridge and you were already in love with it? Because you weren't a Fallout fan prior, right?
Yeah, I was not. I walked out, did not like it. It's more so the story behind it. You walk out, you don't like it. I know I didn't like it originally. And it's like, you hear so much good things, and you're like, okay, there's something here I'm missing.
Yeah,
so right. You do like what I think we've all done at least once in our life. You buy that game like this. There's this like extra edge of determination when you buy it and when you go to play it. Like you're zoned in a little bit more. Maybe you turn off a light or two to get you into that atmosphere. And for me, with Fallout 3, I had that moment where I was like, okay, time. Like I'm gonna stop loud mouthing about how I don't like this game. I'm gonna sit down. I've heard enough good things.
Right.
And I'm just gonna fucking see how I like it, So I shut off my lights, put in the disc, lean forward, try to fully immerse myself, and because I'm going in with, I'd say, like a more open mind. That's when I leave the vault and I'm like, wait, this is like I can just go anywhere, and it was just that feeling of the music synchronizing with that sight, leveling up.
That is so weird.
It's
you did it prior to me because I had to have somebody literally force me to retry it and get past what you just said, to get off the cliff or the edge of the map and go left, is what he said. He's like, no, don't just stop. That's not the cool part. Go left. And I went left and I walked for, I don't know. But then I started seeing things pop up, and then magically it went from, this is a piece of shit brown simulator, which is what I thought Fallout 3 was. I fucking hated it. And then 6 months after it was released, did that the 8th or 9th time. And luckily I had a friend who told me to do it. So I don't know where it would be cool. I wish we could have tracked how far you walked before you were like, whoa, and how far I had to walk where I had the exact same moment. Because it just took me a little bit farther, it sounds like. Like, I don't know what happened. It just took me like 100 extra yards before I had the same moment you had.
It wasn't instantaneous. Like, I was taken aback by that ledge.
And the fucking scene and everything you see.
I was taken a little back by that. And then you go into Megaton. You're getting your bearings. You play the first couple of missions. You're like, okay, I don't hate it. I go to bed. I wake up the next day, go to school, come back home, sit down, create the same environment, lights off, leaned in. And it's that moment to moment, that's what got me, where I'm like experiencing all these different stories, adventures, content, characters, cool things, random encounters in that 4-hour span I played, where I was like, there's a lot here, and I like all of it, and I'm glad I gave it another shot. Like, there was that feeling too.
And also awesome. The fact that starting place sucks dick.
Oh, you don't like Vault? You don't like the Vault?
No. Dude, that Fallout 3, it's the first mod I always get, man. Skip the vault. Skip the vault.
I can understand.
Skip Tarsus in KOTOR. In KOTOR, if I have to play Tarsus one more time, my soul will die. And so whenever I play that game, that's the first mod I get, is Skip Tarsus. I don't know what it is about them. I would love to go back and look at what happens in there. Because you just have the birthday, but it's so slow, man.
It is. It's a good hour before you really get out.
Yeah, there's something about it that just that killed me. Also, I feel Liam Neeson was misused.
There's time things, like during your party, you have to mingle until the dad goes to the intercom. So stuff like that.
Yep.
Fat Ragnar, I have been getting into a lot of mech anime and wanted to know if there are any good recommendations for mech games. Keep up the great work, both of you.
Fat Ragnar. It's an awesome name.
Mech games. I've seen.
Games or anime?
Games.
Maddie?
Games.
Oh, I know a bunch. Are we talking about? Well, are we talking about?
He just says, are there any good recommendations for mech games? I'm gonna say Transformers Devastation.
Fucking A, right?
Yeah, will that count?
Right.
But for those who don't know, Platinum Games made it what was it? The 80s is when that cartoon came out.
Yeah, God.
It was an 80s
so good
Transformers cartoon, and they made a whole game based off of it, and it was just 6-hour game, but it's awesome, man. Really fun.
Game is so good. So there's Vox Machina, which is VR, which is BattleTechs. Then there's giant robots. There's fast robots. Transformers is fast. and then there's BattleTech, which is slower. Okay. Then there's BattleTech, which is RTS style. There's 3 BattleTech games. So I would say that covers battle. Then first person, Hawken got canceled or is done. Titanfall has
Titanfall.
Titanfall 2 has enough good mech stuff in it. I would say it's worth picking up somewhere.
Borderlands 3 is gonna have a mech-based character.
Borderlands 3 looks awesome. It's got the mech-based stuff.
Can confirm,
sure.
Very fun.
Rage 2 has a very fun stuff for the mech. So I other than Vox Machina and BattleTech, just mechs is sort of rare. They are sort of, now that I think about it. It's
usually like an accomplice or a part of a much bigger picture. There is Daemon X Machina. I made a whole video on it today.
Daemon X Machina.
Switch exclusive game. You are seated in a mech the whole time fighting other mechs. It is very anime based. Looked a little clunky and played like shit when I played the demo, but it has improved based off, by a lot, by the way, based off a demo improvements trailer that they made. Really cool. Something that I highlighted in my video, celebrating the idea of a dev making a trailer showcasing the before and afters of their game and how much it's actually been carried forward. So if you're looking for anime mechs, that's another good one. So there's a
none of mine were anime.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say anime mechs, but since he mentioned that he was watching animes with anime with mechs,
that's what I'm thinking too. That's why I was a little questionable on if I should give my example, but I do have to say Vox Machina has one of the coolest things I've ever seen, which is a big warrior one where they're slow. But when your legs get blown off, you can actually push a button to do a last ditch like jet, and you can self-destruct by flying into enemies with torso jets. It is the dumbest. So, like, you'll be firing, somebody will blow one leg off and you're hopping. They'll blow the other leg off and it's all VR. So you grab a telephone and you're like, emergency, emergency, I'm ejected. And then you hit the eject button and the fucking robot clicks forward and then flies forward. And, like, its last-ditch effort is to just fly straight at the enemy and smash into him. It's so dumb, but it is one of the coolest moments in games. Yeah.
We already kind of talked about Blade's question. He asked if the Epic Games Store deserves all the hate it gets, or is it just blind hate? Johnsonville, do you think Microsoft is going to expand its PC gaming services / storefront within the next few years to match the size of platforms like Steam? I ask because Xbox Game Pass on PC has a number of PC-only games, and they seem to be expanding in this medium a lot lately.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say
not as big as Steam though, right?
Yeah, I don't think as big as Steam, but I think a big part of their game plan is to be anywhere they can be. I think it's inevitable within the next 2 years you'll probably see them get Game Pass on Switch, thanks to streaming technology, and I think within the next 4 years, 5 years, you'll see an Xbox exclusive or a big Xbox IP make its way to PlayStation. I think Microsoft's more concerned with their current vision now, unless, and I think the only thing that could change this, before I finish my thought, is if they have a bunch of their new studios hit home runs with their newly acquired exclusives. I think their current perspective is, let's put our games everywhere, and that would include, I think, PlayStation. Because Microsoft has survived, I wouldn't even say survived, that puts them in a much more dire position, but they've thrived, rather, thanks to their services, and this could be the direction they want to take their company in. I mean, I think it's smart, even in the short term, just to do this, because if your exclusives pan out and that becomes a bigger selling point for your console, then all you've done is just add value to something that's already generating a lot of money. So I think, they're going to still keep doing the PC thing because it's a big component where cross-play is slowly becoming a thing. So your friend can get it on PC, you can get it on Xbox, you guys can hop into a call together, play. I think that's a big part of what they're pushing forward and why a lot of people are supporting them despite their lack of dominant first-party exclusives. What do you think, besides just yes?
I would agree, but I honestly, I think Microsoft may want to work with Sony. Sony does not want to work with Microsoft. They've been very clear about it.
I always forget that aspect.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing it from thinking Microsoft is like the clingy girlfriend or something.
Sony, why wouldn't you? Let's say Microsoft's like, hey, we'll give you Halo.
Because Sony absolutely, you and I have both dealt with their PR. Sony's absolutely old school, and they'll blame Microsoft forever for anything Microsoft has done. I just think Sony is the popular kid at school. They will do whatever they can to not let anybody popular. It's like a fucking pyramid, man. And they're at top, and they do not want anybody coming near them. They were pushed into crossplay. They were pushed so much, developers of games were fucking turning it on accident. And they still were like, nah, we don't want to. I mean, look at how many developers have openly stated Sony does not want crossplay whatsoever. Like, they're dead set against it. They just do not want to work with Microsoft. And I don't see, unless Sony replaces and becomes more of an American company, I don't think they will, because look at Sega. Man, talk to Sega of America presidents, and they'll tell you about Sega of Japan, and it's a nightmare. It used to be. It's not anymore. But dude, all the problems that came up with Sega were almost all based on the Japanese way of thinking. And the, like, very egotistical holding on to things, we're enemies forever, and all that kind of stuff.
Didn't we hear a similar thing with Nintendo versus Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Japan?
We did.
That whole creator program.
Yeah, and it's gone up and down and back and forth. And, you said something really intelligent, which was that it also depends on how well the companies do. If Sony isn't doing as well, you can bet some shit might change. But they probably won't. If Microsoft does better, you can bet that their call-outs for other companies will probably decrease a bit. Where they'll be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't need your ass. It's a popular girl going to prom. And it's just really weird, dude. Like, Sony is so they're anti-everybody. I mean,
they'd rather just fight on and survive on their own merits.
Yeah, and I do believe that's a company that would love to see everybody else destroyed. Like, everything. I mean,
imagine that.
Well, you know what I mean, though? Like, if there's no competition, I believe a lot of it's BS when somebody says competition is good, but I actually do believe that some of them are gamers and do know that competition helps. And whatever's going on at Sony, they don't feel that way to me. They feel like they would love to absolutely annihilate everyone and just be on top alone with no one else in the same area. It's a very odd company.
Staying on theme with this week's holiday, 4th of July, Bearded Panda asks, what is the most American moment you've ever seen in a game? For me, it's definitely the Raw America skin in Smite. There's this they change his head to a bald eagle. They give him like a fucking shredded body, like he's jacked. They give him like this most macho guy voice actor, kind of like this. And like when he like shoots his ult, he goes like America and like shoots a fucking beam out of his mouth. Like it is absolutely the most American thing I've ever fucking seen in a game for sure. What about you?
You still play that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's crazy how long it's crazy to see some of the other titles we like that have gone away. Yeah, because Gigantic went away and it came around the same time. Did it?
No, Smite's been around. That's why I'm surprised Smite's still around. Smite's been...
Is Smite prior?
Alpha was playable in like 2011, 2010. Like,
no shit.
It's been around. It doesn't look like a high budget game, which may be why they're able to keep it alive. But they do monthly God releases. I mean, they support it. I'm surprised that like they're just able to keep that game afloat, especially when what was the game that Hi-Res did? Paladins. Paladins completely failed. From what I know. Could be wrong, but
no, it did.
Haven't heard dingle dick on that one. It's gone now.
I thought Paladins was gone.
You might be
I could be wrong, but I certainly actually I saw it on Twitch though a couple months ago. So maybe it's just there and not.
I'll
doing
look it
so
up
well.
while you share with us your
My America. I would cheat if I could. I won't, but I would say that the true answer is still the same. Mass Effect moment.
Right. You just
because I was just like, fuck yeah, but I would say anything from Gears of War 1. Because those characters are basically bandana-wearing American bike riders, and they're just like, you have the Coltrane, you have Coltrane, woo! Like, all of that is so... there's something so amazing about that and so over the top.
Oh, never mind.
I adore Gears.
Paladins is very much still alive.
Still in Twitch then, yeah, because I did see it show up in Twitch. I thought for some reason it was gone too. There's another one that for sure is, by the way. Gigantic?
Paragon.
No?
Paragon was the one by Epic that got shut down literally because of Fortnite.
Maybe that's the one. Yeah, because Fortnite came along, right? No one expected Fortnite to do what it did.
And it was so successful, they just said...
that they moved everybody to...
which is like
imagine what
really
that must
sad.
be like, bro.
Yeah.
Imagine you're working on your game, the shit game no one thought would be good, and certainly isn't worth the success it's seen. Yes, I said it. And that does that well, and you look over and you're just like, what? And we're closing you down, not because you suck, but because this other thing is so much better. We want everybody working on it, and that's
Wow. It's gotta leave you a weird taste in your mouth for sure.
Well, it would be like being an artist where you paint landscapes and they're all, guess what? Tonka trucks are good, so you're going to paint Chevys for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that's not... I was over here painting nature. And they're, nope, you got to paint Transformers and Chevys. And you're just like, damn. You know, because you're an artistic person, so your desire there is to sort of give that some fruit.
All right. Last question will come from Mike Fury. He submitted a lot.
Oh, he's the one who's got like 6 questions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, he's smart because he's just throwing a bunch in there. He's like, Matty will pick 1, 2, and that'll be it. He has some good ones here. We'll start off with this one because this can apply to you as well. What are you buying? Or are you guys rather buying / reviewing Fire Emblem? Currently my channel's in the review process for Nintendo to see if I can get a code for both Fire Emblem and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 for review. I wasn't concerned because I thought they were just reviewing my YouTube channel, which is relatively clean, but then they said all active online channels, so I'm like, fuck, they are going to go to my Twitch and see, like, within the first 2 minutes how much I just curse up a storm. Yeah, probably not getting a review code for Fire Emblem, not because they're checking if I'm family friendly.
Yep, same is happening to me. I didn't even read as much as Maddie did into it. I saw blurbs said we're looking, because you and I talked, I'm pretty sure on the same 1 or 2 days we sent it. I don't even know if I said Fire Emblem, but I did say Avengers. And then I got a bump back saying, but thanks, we'll get back a hold of you. And then I looked lower and it's like, and we'll be reviewing your channel family for like, you know, if you fit or blah, blah, blah. And I looked at it and I realized it was from them. And
Yeah, really,
probably won't happen.
Yeah, when I saw that, I kind of just, did one of those things like, I tried,
Yeah.
I scoured the internet for that contact, and I got it.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah. God bless them because they stick to it, but they do stick to it. I just don't see how... I see why a lot of people review their games and why a lot of people don't. I can certainly see why a lot of people don't.
I always wondered why.
Yeah, well, so did I. I thought they were just... I don't know.
I thought it was just after Smash, they were just, like, harder to acquire. I was like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, that was their biggest game. The whole fucking thing leaked. Like, yeah, that's probably annoying. Tighten it down. But I was like, oh, there's a program. Oh, you got to review, like, all my shit. And even then, who knows if it's day and date, early? I don't know. But, yeah,
well,
man.
you and I, we know 1 or 2 people behind the scenes that for sure review them. Not behind the scenes, but we for sure know other reviewers that review them. And once I saw that thing, I thought about those other people, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Comparatively to me, they're very G rated.
Yeah, I mean,
compared to me.
I don't blame them if they saw my channel and they're like, this guy's just like another loudmouth New Yorker who's just cursing up a storm.
Me neither.
Like, all right,
it would be nice. The cool thing is, Maddie, that's only Nintendo stuff. If it's a Nintendo game but it's a different pub, there's no issue, which is also weird in a way that I'm explaining it that way because it should still be them, but it's not.
It's just a bummer because Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was one I was like, I was super keen on reviewing, especially
also,
Fire
am I
Emblem,
going crazy, Maddie? Shouldn't that be Square?
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
I
don't
thought
think that's
Square handled all things Avengers and all things... Because I think you were the one who told me it was Nintendo on on DMs, and I was like, in my brain originally, I thought it was all handled by.
When I contacted them about it, I said like, Marvel. I mentioned Marvel and Fire Emblem, and they weren't like, oh, we're not handling this, but we're handling this. Let's see who's publishing.
No, and you're absolutely right. They are. It's even on their wiki. It says Nintendo. I, for some reason in my brain, because Square's been handling it all,
they are publishing
just, for some reason, thought that they were publishing it. Yeah, so I reached out to them originally. They didn't respond.
Maybe
Nintendo did.
Maybe Team Ninja has a contact. They'll probably just forward you to Nintendo, but...
yeah.
That or you could just be blessed like some of my friends, Karak included, and get street copies.
Dude, well, I showed you that one time.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? The one where I explained to you the one. In fact, did you not try to use it one time? Try to use my scheme? Do you remember this discussion? Because it was a year ago.
Was it like
I explained to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried looking for that, but like it's
difficult
I haven't seen it available.
Yeah, I get what you mean. As everybody's like, what the fuck secret are they talking about? Sorry about that, guys. We'll move on.
Last one, still from Mike Fury. What is the game easiest to recommend that you have that in your mind everyone would love if they gave it a chance? I like to highlight he actually edited his message and there was still a typo in there. What a ginormous L.
Right now he's just leaving Patron.
Yeah.
He's like,
he's like, yeah, you want money? Fuck you.
Yeah. Right. Here's an L, baby.
For real. Oh man, easiest game to recommend that I think anyone would love if they gave a chance. Nier Automata. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's a game that, you look at, you see like 2B in her dress and you're like, oh, anime butt, okay, sex, but like underneath that one character concept is like one of the best video game stories, one of the most interesting game worlds, just fucking amazing combat, the best soundtrack since that game launched. Still nothing has topped it. That even includes Persona 5. Yes, I think Nier's is way better. It's just a marvelous game from top to bottom, and I mean, I should say not enough people give it a chance because it sold 4 million copies, which is amazing.
Jesus, that's a lot of copies for that game.
For that type of game. I just hope more people give it a chance and don't think like we're just blowing smoke up its ass because it's like a cool little surprise title. Like, no, it's like legit top tier shit. Like, it's a really, really, really good game.
Yeah, very much so.
Even when I went back to it this year, it's still spectacular. And I could tell how much I believe what I say about it because when I do go back to some games, you think you love it, then you play it again, you're like, eh. Like I even had that a little bit with DMC5, which is why I think Rage 2 is still my game of the year because I was going back and playing it, and when I was playing the first time through, loved everything, over-the-top action, so much fun, but then like a couple of levels with V, I'm like, this is a little slower, like I'm looking for a little more action here. You start to note some pacing stuff that may feel a little off, but when it came to Nier, I was hooked right away again. I was like, give me more. Give my body more. Especially playing on the harder difficulty, there's just that extra element of toughness, getting hit once and like all your health's gone. Really, really fun and entertaining game, and it's got everything you're looking for. So that's one I'd say instantly give a chance to.
Man, I don't know. Without any context, dude, I don't know if I have an answer. Because I don't know of any game that I could...
Oxenfree?
No, because I know some people, in fact, they've made sure to alert me that some people aren't, into that kind of game. So my brain keeps thinking genres, if that makes sense. Like, because I'm thinking, I would say, like, Nier is a great example, and then I'm like, well, some people don't like those platformers, so I don't know of a game.
Yeah, I mean, I know at the end of the day, there will be people who still don't like Nier no matter what, but I still think most folks will like this game or like stuff about it if given the chance. They may not like it as much as I do. I think very few people will. I mean, I don't know. Anytime, and this is a small percentage, but anytime anyone's ever tweeted me about Nier, whether they've played it, they took my suggestion, it's never been something negative. Never.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a sign that, like, if that game is given a chance by people, they would enjoy it. Superb.
Yeah, I can't even think. I mean, I don't even know of a game. Oxenfree I like, and I know it's good, and other people can dislike, but they're fucking wrong. But no, I know that I get it. Nier is one of the cool things about Nier is I think a lot of people who don't even like those kind of games, if they gave it a chance, would be like, whoa.
It would open their eyes to a whole new thing.
Yeah,
like, they probably like platinum games.
I did have somebody who really did not like the locations because they were sparse. They were very empty. They were very drab. And if you don't understand the dichotomy there, I get it. Like, that to me was all, dude, that could have been handled better. That's a legit complaint. Like, I totally get that. I mean, dude, no, I honestly don't. I don't have anything that I would even probably, they would have to identify the genre, and even then, I just don't know if I even think that way. Because there's games I know I love that are not good, too. So I might say that, like if I said a game, I'd be all, that's actually not a good game. I just fucking love that game. Yeah, I don't think I have an answer. I just don't even. Yeah.
All good. I splurged.
Okay, I know one.
Here. Okay.
No.
There we go. No. What? No. What? You're playing with us, man.
Because it's embarrassing. Okay, what's the question? It's a game that we
easily
think everybody
recommend that people would enjoy if they gave it a chance.
Nah, I'm not gonna say the game. I was gonna say, yeah, I don't have a suggestion.
You don't think Garfield Kart Racer would be up people's alley?
No, but do you know what I was gonna say? My answer was literally gonna be Skylanders, and I was gonna have a long reason why.
That's a great answer. I've never given that a shot.
And it's basically Gauntlet and an RPG Diablo, but with those cartoon characters that are all upgradable, and the toys actually do something instead of like being like a lot of games.
Can you still play that? Let's say I had the toys in the game. You could still sign on and play. Well, then what's shut down?
Most are backwards. No. They're all peer-to-peer, so they don't even require a server. So you can go.
Oh, so you can still play it. So what's
and
the
then
PvE
there's local multiplayer. There's PvE content that is co-op. It's all co-op. The entire game is co-op. And then one or two of them have online races. Superchargers is cars, as well as it's got the full game, but then it also has pieces that are cars and boats and airplanes, because it has those kind of races in it as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up gameplay. See, that's something I've never looked into.
And they're cheap. It's so funny because now, even with toys, they're like $17 for the full game and 4 or 5 pieces.
Wow.
And boxed, like brand new. But yeah, everybody I know likes it, so I almost said it, but then I was like, people are just going to be like, what the fuck?
I've never played it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that could
dude, if you had told me the day prior, I'd be all, fuck you, Matty. Fuck you. If you were like, dude, Skylanders is going to be one of your best games of all time, I'd be like, you are crazy. But then once I put my hands on it, I was like, I get it.
Isn't modern gaming such a bitch? Games like Marvel Hero Omega and Skylanders getting closed down. I mean, at least Skylanders you can go back to, it sounds like.
Yeah, Infinity, you can't. Disney Infinity was beyond ridiculous. Its toy box mode was basically all of these creator games we're seeing. Mario Creator and Dreams in a Disney game. Like, it was.
And that got shut down too, right?
And it got shut down. Yeah, you can play the Steam versions for free, which is cool. Or maybe it's like $9, but it gives you every toy and every level. There's not even a physical component. You can play it all on Steam. So you go to Steam, you buy like Disney Infinity 1.
Wow.
And for whatever price, it's literally every single thing in the game just unlocked, which is very cool. Because you're talking like $1,000 if you were to.
Jesus Christ.
Back then. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I would say that's a good example of an odd game that a lot of people like that I wasn't expecting.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up episode 209 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. Karak, as always, it's been a fantastic time chatting with you, hosting
Great
this
Fridays, baby.
show. Yeah, best Fridays. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've stayed this long, thank you. We appreciate you. Do consider joining either of our Patreons. If you do join mine, you can naturally be involved in the patron questions that we just spent a lot of time with. And last week we had our longest patron question segment of all time. So really cool stuff going on. Big announcements to come within the next month or so, I would imagine. But paperwork's fun, so we'll see. And until then, I will catch you guys next time. Karak, any final words?
No.
All right. Then we will see you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace out.